those, but Jaden Craig is one example, can handle that extremely well with the velocity he puts on a ball.
Kieran Core lines it up, and on cue, the ball falls off the tee, which might happen once or twice here today, and we'll see if they have a holder. Usually it's on that second time falling off the tee. They bring somebody up. Our referee, Henry Wimberg, will steer the ship from the Ivy League officiating standpoint. Harvard comes into this matchup 6-1 with a 3-1 record in the conference. Columbia is 5-2, 3-1 after last week's win against Yale. And they are trying to knock off Harvard and Yale for the first time in the same season since 1996. See how it plays out over the next 3 hours. We are almost off and underway as on cue that wind kicks up. And as far as we can see it right now, it's blowing from near sideline to far sideline. But as you noted, the way the flags blow, it isn't always like that on the field.
Yeah, it's very strange. You see the flag going, you think you know it's going to go east or west, and it doesn't necessarily work that way, so you got to get a feel for it. But it tends to swirl because our stadium is, the way it's built, it just direct goes so high up, it tends to swirl.
So now Core will send this through the end zone. And much ado about nothing. Ball comes out to the 25, and that's when the Columbia offense will take over. Led by Cole Freeman, a junior out of Summit, New Jersey. Started off his college career at Northwestern. He is the rare transfer into the Ivy League. He was kind of quarterback 1B to Chase Goodwin coming into this season. Goodwin a couple weeks ago against Dartmouth, injured, out for the season. Freeman started last week against Yale, acquitted himself quite nicely. He is a threat not only with the arm but with the legs.
Yeah, like most offenses, especially high-powered offenses, you've got to have a guy that's a dual-threat quarterback, guy that can extend plays, and both these teams certainly have guys that can do that.
So a little bit closer to home in New York City, and the first play is a handoff to the running back, Joey Georgie. The senior from Grafton, Wisconsin, picks up 3 yards on the first play from scrimmage. And Georgie, a guy that you had to game plan against when you were facing Columbia, tough-nosed runner of the football.
Yeah, very tough kid, strong, physical, one of the top rushers in Columbia history.
He is third all-time in Lions history, and he will be spread out to the left. They clear the backfield for Freeman, who, as we mentioned, is a big-time threat to run. Spins around, faces pressure, evades a couple, but can't get past the Crimson and Brandon Svets, who takes him down for a loss behind the 25.
Great job of contain there. If there's one thing when you have a dual-threat quarterback, you want to give him as few options as possible. And for a youngish quarterback, you want to keep him in the pocket rather than allow him to extend plays.
Take a look at the offensive line for Columbia. One note, James Lill taking over for the injured Mark Chapman. Suffered a season-ending injury against the Bulldogs last week. Couple of big injuries. We'll touch more on those a bit later for the Lions. But it's 3rd and 13. A run around the left side will not get past the 26-yard line. Georgie only collects 4 yards, and a terrific start for the Harvard defense, forcing a 3-and-out.
No question. You've got them against the wind. You've got where you want to be.
So we'll see how the winds affect these kicks. We saw the kickoff sail through the end zone. Core's got a really strong leg. Kickoffs from the 40 often go in or beyond the end zone. So this might be our first true test. And for head coach John Poppy, former Harvard special teams coordinator, you know special teams are a huge emphasis every week for Columbia. And they've got a good one punting the football in Will Hughes. High snap, gets it away. And a wobbly punt will take a few Columbia bounces. Scott Woods lets it go, and it'll be downed at the 34-yard line. So don't know if it was the wind or the snap that affected it more, but Harvard will have decent field positioning as Jaden Craig will lead the offense onto the field.
Yeah, good decision by Scotty Woods with that bouncing ball.
They take a look at the numbers this season for Craig. He is a New Jersey native, so playing a team not too far from home. His numbers this season, 67%. You look his last 4 weeks, 75% through the air, over 300 yards per game in the last month. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the FCS level, and just a junior. He is a huge test for this Columbia defense. He's got Exave Abascon to his right in the backfield. Bascon filling in for McLaughlin. It's a flea flicker. Craig double pumps, throws it, but Barcade stopped running, and it's incomplete.
Well, you can see the secondary, they were playing that very conservatively. Obviously, a trick play, obviously something they've got more things up their sleeve, but they played that very, very conservatively on the back end, and that was helpful.
So offensive coordinator Mickey Fine going into his bag of tricks on the very first play. Harvard is an offense so efficient. They've got so many ways they can beat you. They send 4 receivers as Craig on second down. Scans the field. Now bounces to his left. Still eyes downfield. Whips it toward the sideline. It's incomplete.
Well, there you got a good idea of the diversity of skill set that Jaden Craig has. He's in the pocket, then he's out the pocket, and he can throw as well on the run as he does in the pocket.
And on the same note, you get a good idea as to how good the Columbia defense is as we take a look at the Harvard offensive line starters. This Columbia defense is for real, and this is not just a one-time thing. They've been good the last few years, going back to Al Bagnoli's teams.
No question about it. They're big, strong up front. They're very athletic, and they're certainly well coached.
On third down, it's a first down throw into Columbia territory. Seamus Gilmartin, the sophomore from Hillsborough, California, hauls it in and gets Harvard a big play down to the Columbia 48.
Jaden Craig makes that throw look easy. That is not an easy throw. He is an elite quarterback.
It only goes for that 16 yards, but it's a play that he's throwing a lot longer than that, the length of the field. Charles DePrima in at quarterback. He hands it off. Scott Woods takes a pop and is dropped back at his own 49. It's a loss of 3. First time we get a chance to see Charles DePrima in the backfield, and that play goes for negative yards.
Yeah, not sure that I thought we would see him on this part of the field, but again, he's such a dual threat athlete. He can do a lot of things, and he freezes defenses because they know there's a lot of trick plays involved.
Columbia on the 2 plays where Harvard has tried something a little bit atypical. As far as standard offense goes, the Lions have been there to snuff it out. So 2nd and 13 for Craig and company. First option not open. Plenty of time, though, over the middle to Caden Oderman. He hauls it in and is inside the 40-yard line, very close to a Harvard first down.
Wow, great protection by the offensive line, especially when you consider they had one starter returning, Austin Gentle at center. So really outstanding job. Great to see the quote-unquote second-string quarterback hang in there and make a big play.
And the good hands by Oderman, who caught 2 huge fourth-down conversions last week in the come-from-behind win against Dartmouth.
We'll talk about the diversity at the wide receiver position, but it is absolutely elite.
It's DePrima in the shotgun. Sprints to his left, turns upfield. He's got the first down. They only needed 1. He picks up 2. And Charles DePrima with his 38th rushing attempt this season. He's up over 200 yards. He is everywhere on the field, and as we said, defenses have to be aware as to what his involvement level will be in every single play.
Yeah, and I think if we get close, I should say that's going to be a hard one not to get past. But when Harvard gets close to the red zone and then the end zone, you're going to see a lot more.
At the 37, Craig again has all day, throws deep over the middle, and it's just over Oderman's outstretched arm.
Again, excellent protection, and what you probably don't notice there or don't see that wind carried that ball a little bit.
Caden Oderman, a big target. He's from Nebraska. And you referred to him once a few years ago as country strong, and such a big target, it almost feels tough to overthrow a guy like that at 6'4", 210.
He can catch BBs at midnight. Amazing kid. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. Just a super high character kid. Great to have him healthy.
On second down, Bascon gets smothered. Anthony Russos first to get there. Jack Smahowski there as well, and Columbia yielding nothing on the running game.
I think in any great defense, it starts with the run. You stop the run, make people throw. Obviously, that is not something strange to Harvard, but the ability to have a balanced offense makes it a lot easier.
Smahowski, one of the leaders of this team on defense, along with C.J. Brown. They allow them some versatility. They've been a 4-3 defense at times, a 3-4 defense at times. And it's another 3rd and long for Harvard. Blitz comes, going deep, and it's incomplete. He was looking for Barkate, and he got his legs tripped up with the first-year Carter McCray. Good coverage by the Texan, and it's 4th down.
Very impressive. Very impressive first defensive unit.
And kind of in in-between territory, they maybe hadn't lost that yardage on the running play. Maybe they would have gone for it, but 4th and 13 from the 40. This is on Sebastian Tasco to try and get the Lions pinned back deep.
Well, Sebi sure is a vet. He's an outstanding specialist, and it's interesting. Both of our specialists have parents that were born abroad. In his case, Eastern Europe, and in
as an opponent, first time as a head coach here, but certainly a guy that you have a lot of respect for.
No question. Great recruiter, great evaluator, and very intense in the best possible context.
From the 9-yard line, it's a 3-yard pickup here for Joey Georgie against this Harvard defense. When we talk about Columbia's defense, Harvard's not bad either. They are number 2 in the Ivy League in scoring defense, number 1 actually in total yards, both of those top 30 in FCS. And for Columbia, what would you imagine the game plan is going to be today against this Harvard defense?
Well, don't get the ball thrown behind you, number 1, because they can throw it deep as well as anyone.
Give it to Georgie again. He runs into the waiting arms of Harvard's Chris Ramundo, the senior from Slingerlands, New York. He makes the tackle, and that deep Harvard defensive line reveals another name making a contribution.
Well, you got 2 really good defensive football teams, and the reality is such that this is not going to be a 45-40 game.
Certainly, especially with the wind, might make it tough at times. And again, the unpredictability of the wind, one flag completely limp, the flag at the opposite end of the stadium blowing furiously. So who knows which way the wind is blowing. Right now it's blowing on a 3rd and 6 for Columbia. Needing to get to the Harvard 19-yard line. Freeman has time, now chased around. Extends the play, whips it to his right, and it's complete for a 1st down.
The extended play piece is critical in football at all levels.
It's Jordan Kelly, the 3rd leading receiver, Texan, 6'2", 180-pound junior. This is his 19th catch of the season. Only caught 1 ball against Yale last week. The previous week had a season-high 5 catches for 58 yards in the narrow loss to Dartmouth. Fresh set of downs, it's Georgie. He's hogtied from behind by Brandon Svets, the 6'5" Evanston, Illinois native.
Brandon's a great kid. He's an interesting kid. He was not highly recruited simply because he was a late bloomer in high school, didn't start until his senior year, and he's going to be a great one.
His dad was a college diver at LSU. You don't see that sports connection really match up, a diver and a defensive lineman. 2nd and 8. Another running play? No, they play action, fake it, and it's just past the fingertips of Bryson Canty. First time we've called his name. Actually, that's Marcus Lidman, the intended target. Senior from Arizona. Lidman closing in on 100 career receptions. This pass just out of reach.
Yeah, it's hard to quantify how much of an effect the wind is having, but obviously not a stellar start in the passing game for either team yet.
3rd and 8. Columbia looking to get to the Harvard 29-yard line. They went 3 and out on their first drive. Picked up a 3rd down conversion earlier on this drive. Freeman. Faces pressure, dances out of a tackle, throws incomplete. He was trying to find Georgie on the outlet, but the Harvard pressure caused the hurried play, and Harvard forces another punt.
Yeah, great call by Scott Lucky bringing the blitz, and a few defensive coordinators more savvy than he is.
You know, we talked to him earlier this season, and he says it's just a feel thing, when to draw up that blitz, because under his reign as defensive coordinator, Harvard has not been a blitz-happy team, but certainly sprinkled them in. Columbia will change the formation on the punt. The dangerous Scott Woods is standing inside his own 40, ready for the punt. That first punt we saw was a bit of a wobbler from Hughes. It ended up going 40 yards. As now flags will pop out. The play clock had run out.
And folks, you can definitely see the impact
Delay
he's
game.
having when
Offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
when you're trying to kick it to the closed end.
Because some delays of game on 4th down are intentional. If you're close to midfield, you want to give your punter more room. That one didn't seem intentional, especially given the field position that Columbia's in.
No, given the field position, they did not want to back this thing up.
You wonder if the change of formation messed with the timing of that. So now Hughes will be back at his 1-yard line. Woods from the 45 across midfield. He's got space. Scott Woods, dangerous on the return, down the sideline, and he's out of bounds inside the 10.
Yeah, Scotty Woods is he is amazing what he can do with his skills, and he's a great returner. Flip the field.
It looked like it was Smahowski that forced him out of bounds, but Harvard will have the football at the 8-yard line and is threatening to open up the scoring this afternoon on a sunny, windy day at Harvard Stadium. Ready this season, nearly had a 5th. See if Harvard makes him pay for the drop pick. Craig all day, throws, end zone, too tall.
Well, I think to some extent we're seeing something we haven't seen to this point of the season, and that is a defense that really has a good feel for what we're doing. They're obviously very secure in what they're doing, and obviously Harvard's going to move the ball. They're going to score some points, but it's not going to be easy. There's a reason that they're number one in scoring defense.
Well, it's a new coaching staff with John Poppy. The defensive coordinator remains the same, and Justin Stovall. This is his 3rd season in that position, 10th season overall at Columbia. 3rd and 10 from the 12. Craig over the middle, back of the end zone. Flag pops out. See if we've got a penalty against Columbia.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if I see Jaden break the pocket at some point, because he's doing a great job staying in there.
There is no foul on the play for defensive pass interference. The ball was tipped. 4th down.
So good awareness. A rule, when the ball gets tipped, you can maul the receiver in ways that you couldn't otherwise. And that was a dangerous throw given all the traffic anyway. So how about this by Columbia? The punt return sets up Harvard at the 12, and the Crimson don't gain a yard and have to try for a field goal.
Yeah, definite moral victory for Columbia on that one.
Kieran Core is 3 for 3 on field goal attempts this season. He's a first year from Winchester, Massachusetts, was the number 1 place-kicking recruit in the country coming in. And Core's kick is good to open up the scoring. Well, despite the bad field position for the Columbia defense, they stand tall, limit Harvard to a field goal. And let's take a look at our keys to the game for both Harvard and Columbia. Stay on the field. Why is that so important, do you think, for the Crimson today?
Well, I think the reality is you're only going to get so many snaps. You've got 2 good offenses, 2 good defenses. You want to work the clock. You want to move the ball, and ultimately you want to score points. And, you know, the latter has been difficult for both teams early in the first quarter.
And for Columbia, John Poppy talked about, hey, when they give us a chance to go deep, we got to take advantage of that offensively. We saw the missed opportunity to Libman on the previous drive. Those are the plays that the Lions really want to make sure they connect on.
Yeah, no question about it. Will not be easy today if the wind continues to swirl.
So Core will kick it off. His previous kickoff attempts went through the end zone. We'll see if there's a return here. Back to receive this kick is one of the running backs, Griffin Johnson, standing in the end zone. It's one of those where Harvard would have loved to have had a couple of plays back on that last drive. Didn't pick up a yard, but the special teams put them in position to get the game's first points. This will be a roller, so Johnson will return this one from the 5-yard line. Cuts it across the near side, and a good return out across the 25-yard line. Take a look at the head-to-head statistics for this matchup. We talked about it. Great offense for Harvard, terrific defense for Columbia, and it's notable, Columbia, best passing defense in the Ivy League. They do it a little bit differently than what we saw Princeton a couple weeks ago, also a very good passing defense with the way that they play their secondary.
Yeah, they're not a team that's going to play a ton of man-to-man. They're not a team that's going to have a ton of blitz, but they're always in the right place. And, getting back to that, John Poppy has coached the secondary, and John Poppy has also was an excellent special teams coach for us. Needed more hang time on that kick.
Cole Freeman will throw it right side. He's got it to one of his tight ends, Brandon Doherty. And a good rumble by Doherty. The Dublin, Ohio native has a Columbia first down, second of the game for the Lions.
Yeah, they're very excited about him for a young tight end, 6'5", 250. He looks like he's a veteran.
Only a sophomore. Scott Larkey pointed out to us, he's a guy who shows up so much on film, and the stats don't jump off the page, but he does a lot in their run game, which has been very effective this year. Columbia trying to get points for the first time, and they get a positive run on first down. It is the backup running back, Griffin Johnson, who had a career-high 41 yards on the ground against Yale last week, and also a key block on the game-sealing run that the quarterback Freeman had. Those types of contributions, they get John Poppy and any coaching staff as excited as any individual run. And here's a good one to get a first down into Harvard territory.
You look at any defense, and job one is you got to stop the run. If you can't stop the run, inevitably they're going to be able to throw the ball and play act. So obviously it is something that Coach Poppy wants to and Columbia wants to sustain. But so far so good in that respect.
And on the game-winning touchdown drive last week, they moved the ball piecemeal, run after run, and then boom, hit him with the big pass to Canty. So they took Yale by surprise with that ability to chip away with the running game. Freeman, pressure from behind, gets rid of it. Juggling catch made close to the 45-yard line by Lippman. A small gain, but keep the ball moving up. 4-yard pickup, 2nd and 6. Lippman 17 yards on 2 catches last week. That is his 99th career reception. Dad was a former wide receiver at the University of Arizona, and it was notable that he juggled that ball. He can actually juggle in real life. Showed the skills there as Malcolm Terry swarmed in the backfield at the 48-yard line. It's a loss of 3 as Harvard's defense making adjustments to the run game.
That's a big one. Puts them in 3rd and long. Much different against the wind. Much different than it would be if you had short yardage.
Once again, it was Spets who was in on that play. He's having a really great start to this game. So 3rd and 9 from the 47. Freeman chucks right. Terry with a blocker in front. Terry gets the first down as he's upended by Gavin Shipman, but not before reaching the 36-yard line on an 11-yard pickup.
Good play call, good execution.
Malcolm Terry, who started off his college career at the United States Naval Academy. That's where Tommy Amaker's team was last night. Tough 5-point loss for the Harvard Crimson men's basketball team. Don't know if Ledger Hatch saw any time in that game. Your former wide receiver. 1st and 10 on the best drive of the day for the Lions. Freeman hands it off this time. There is a massive hole and a first down run all the way to the 20-yard line for Malcolm Terry, who's had the hot hand these last few plays. It's a pickup of 16 yards, and Terry, who entered the week 6th in the Ivy League in rushing, racks up a few more.
Well, Columbia showed Harvard a different formation, then they overloaded it to the weak side there and got the extra blocker.
3 wide receivers here for Freeman as Columbia goes without a huddle. Had something going against Harvard's defense on this drive. Freeman goes for the end zone, and it's intercepted! Picked off by Austin J. Guillory. And Harvard snuffs out the promising Lions drive.
Great coverage, but the ball was pushed as well a little bit on the backside of it. Gave Harvard the opportunity to get in front of it.
The plays that happened in that game against the Bulldogs, but very impressive to bounce back from the loss against Dartmouth with the win against the Elis. Craig, big pickup on first down into Columbia territory, and it's Cooper Barkate, his number 1 target, who hauls it in.
That was really well covered. He put it in the spot where only one guy could catch it. Great route, great throw, really impressive.
It's a 38-yard hookup between the roommates, Craig to Cooper. And what a way to start the drive after Harvard stalled its last time holding the football. Columbia had something going before the interception, and now to the outside. It's completed inside the 35-yard line. That will go to the young wide receiver, Brady Blackburn's third career reception for the Saskatoon native.
Very few wide receivers better than Cooper Barkate. He could play anywhere, gets in and out of routes like very few people.
Seamus Gilmartin in motion, the tight end. Harvard going with a different group of receivers, as this is just a little bit out of the reach of Scott Woods.
A little bit of pressure there.
Affecting the throw there from Jaden Craig, who hasn't been quite as efficient here to start off this game. He's 5 of his first 14. But we saw this in the New Hampshire game as well. Even when he is not necessarily hitting all of his throws, he gets enough big chunk plays to still be extremely productive.
And credit that defense. There's a reason they're number one in scoring defense.
Craig on second down. He's got Barkate, and Barkate's got 6. Touchdown, Harvard.
Well, as I mentioned before, an elite athlete, an elite receiver, gets in and out of routes. He was a kid when we were recruiting him. He was a legit Pac-12. The only reason we got him is his sister Maggie was on the women's lacrosse team. And by the way, Maggie's the better athlete.
Well, Cooper Barkate better than everybody in Columbia's secondary on that play as the Crimson connects, and that's a tough play to haul in. Craig with the throw, Barkate with the catch, and Harvard a point after from going up 10-0.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word too often, but that's elite. That's an elite throw and catch, especially in the wind condition.
The extra point good from Kieran Core, and with 95 seconds remaining in the quarter, it's Harvard 10 and Columbia nothing. Now, a little bit about what this game means for both of these teams. Obviously, a win for either one of these teams would keep them in the driver's seat for an Ivy League title, but for Columbia would clinch the first 8-game start, the best 8-game start since 2017 when they went 8-2 under Al Bagnoli. As we mentioned, also the first time Harvard and Yale would be defeated by Columbia for the first time in nearly 30 years. And for Harvard, they want to win their 6th in a row and avenge that loss that you saw firsthand 2 years ago. But what a special connection that Craig and Barkate seem to have developed here over the last couple of seasons to connect on a play like that. It takes a lot of chemistry.
It does take a lot of chemistry. In their particular case, they are great friends. They are roommates, and I'm sure they'll be standing up for each other in 20 years when they get married.
That's the 9th touchdown reception for Cooper Barkate. For Jaden Craig, it's his 19th touchdown pass this season. Barkate very quickly, and Craig getting close to some Harvard single-season records. Ball falls off the tee as Core is coming over. You don't see that very often. It almost looked like he kicked it over, but the officials jump right in and say the wind affected it, and Harvard a bit fortunate there.
That was a bullet dodged.
Couple that Harvard's dodged in this game. Craig nearly threw a pick in the end zone on the drive previous, and we're not going to mess around with a second attempt without a holder. Austin J. Guillory does 2 things, picks off passes and holds the football for his kickoff man. Johnson back to receive. He will not have a return. And for more on Cooper Barkate, let's go back down to the sideline and Amanda.
Thanks, Alex. Well, after that first really big pickup between Craig and Barkate came off the field and was just trying to catch his breath, gulping water. Finally, they turned to him and said, "You got to go back out there." Put on his helmet, came out 2 plays later. Touchdown, guys.
You can probably say this about 90% of the guys on the field, but boy, Coop loves to play football.
He is always going to Mickey Fine, looking at NFL receivers and pointing out what they're doing on their routes, and he's just a real student of the game and something that any coach can appreciate, especially when you have the talent of Barcade.
And it's paying off.
Play clock is down to 2 seconds here, and Freeman does get the playoff. First design run we've seen, and he will twist his way for about 3. This is something that he is not just a scrambler. They will design running plays for Cole Freeman and try and get his legs involved, which is definitely something that's helped them over the last few weeks.
Well, you got to do it with a dual threat quarterback, and I know that Coach Larkey and the defensive staff have tried to keep an edge on the defense and say, let's keep this guy in the pocket and see if he can beat us throwing the football.
Closing in on 1 minute to go in the opening quarter. Harvard with a 10-0 lead. This time the ball into the belly of his running back, and that's Johnson ahead past the 30 for a pickup of 3. Sets up for a 3rd and 4, and they will have to get a play off before the end of the quarter. For Freeman, I don't know who was more charged up in that win against Yale last week, Freeman or his head coach, John Poppy. Two wild stallions when it comes to the energy, and neither one of them tries to restrain each other too much. They love the grit and resilience that Freeman has. On 3rd and 4, he's going deep for Lippman, who makes the catch inside the 40-yard line. Big play for Columbia to jumpstart the drive.
Great route, great throw. That was, that's if he can keep that up, it's going to be an interesting day.
36 yards to Marcus Lippman, who's been the favored target. He was the intended receiver on the ball that was intercepted. They get a play off before the end of the quarter. Freeman, eyes downfield to the sideline. He's going to throw this one into the turf and take us to the second quarter. Harvard with all the points, but Columbia feeling a bit of the momentum.
This is the end of the
Big
first
play
quarter.
connection between Jaden Craig and Cooper Barkate, setting up Harvard for the 10-0 lead.
Great coach, great person.
Two of you combined for 19 Ivy League championships over the last 4 decades or so. Is this pass by Freeman out of bounds? This will lead to a 3rd down upcoming here for Columbia. Drive that was set up by the long pass play to Marcus Lippman. And at the 33-yard line, start to wonder 4-down territory.
I think when you're down 10 and you have a very athletic quarterback, that has to be in the equation.
So we'll see what Saitu Smith, the offensive coordinator, your former wide receiver and return man, making another return to Harvard Stadium. He's made a few of those in his time in the Ivy League. A real return man. On 3rd and 10, and they hand it off. Johnson inside the 30, and he will wriggle his way close to the 27-yard line. That type of play tells you that they were going for it on 4th down regardless.
No question about it. They got good movement up front there. We got to be a little, as in Harvard has to be a little bit more physical up front. And they will be.
So 4th and 5. Looking to get to the Harvard 23-yard line. It's Johnson in the backfield with Freeman. 3 wideouts to the right. Quarterback sliding right, looking to throw. Hit as he throws, incomplete. Out of bounds. And the pressure coming from...
Pundits wrong, and I know for a fact he wasn't talking about us, Alex.
Well, certainly proved a lot of people wrong. They were picked to finish last in the Ivy League, and if they win today, they would be tied with Dartmouth for the top spot in the Ancient Eight. What a season it has been, and I think perhaps it surprised some of the internal expectations with how quickly things have come together. John Poppy, as Harvard starts the drive with Charles DePrima, he will race to the outside and get brought down shy of the 34-yard line. He told us that really what they wanted to do was do right by the 50-years who were coming back, who really didn't know this head coach, and he wanted to make sure he sent them out right.
Well, if you don't send them out right, if they don't know that you believe in them and you're the most important guys on your team, then you're not going to have the type of continuity and just an opportunity for those guys to buy in.
Isaiah Abe gets the handoff, but runs into a pair of Columbia Lions, and he'll be ripped down. Anthony Roussos and Jack Smahowski combining. Roussos, the senior leading tackler for the Lions, and Isaiah Abe getting into his first game since week 2 against Brown, finally healthy again.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him not, having followed it on TV. Surprised not to see him at all. He's a big physical back.
They're trying to get him involved. Harvard has had a hard time running the football. Entered this drive with -4 rushing yards, but still leading 10-0. On 3rd and 4, Jaden Craig with an empty backfield. Craig, pressure coming from behind, escapes it. Still looking and throws incomplete. And again, a dangerous ball. This time, Aaron Brebner was the safety stepping up, part of that terrific secondary for the Lions.
Jaden has completed a lot of those, but the reality is got to be careful, no question.
Between the wind and the opponent on the other sideline, a little bit tougher to hit some of those passes today. And now Sebastian Tasco will come back out to punt in a different spot than he had in the first quarter.
To your point, a lot of small windows today.
Tasco was able to get his last punt inside the 10-yard line. This time it will bounce and take a Harvard bounce inside the 20 before popping back out. Went 1-6 in the Ivy League, 3-7 overall. And this drive starts from the 21. Mitchell Gonzer annihilates Joey Georgie for a loss of 1. Gonzer is one of those linebackers who's had a terrific season for Harvard, and he's seemingly always in the middle of the action.
Mitch Gonzer is one of the most improved players in this program, no question about it. He's always had the athleticism, but I think Coach Larker's done a great job with him. But you would not have predicted that as freshman or sophomore year, but he's bought in, he works his tail off, and he's an elite athlete for that position.
Defensive coordinator Scott Larkey, also the linebackers coach for the Crimson. As Freeman goes to the air, he's got the connection and a first down. Once again, he'll go to his tight end. It's Braden Doherty for his second catch of the day.
Yeah, big target, got a little bit of separation, and the chains move.
Scott Larkey was one of your players. You kind of gone full circle with Coach Larkey. You recruited him as a high schooler, and then just the other day you were asking about his kids who are in high school.
Yeah, it's scary how time flies. Georgie
makes a man miss and falls forward across the 40. Good run of 7 yards by the Grafton, Wisconsin native. Wisconsin, where Coach Larkey is from. Grafton, north of Milwaukee.
Yeah, you can see the strength of physicality for a running back that he has. There's a reason he's been one of the top running backs in the league.
And a smart guy, too. Last year he was a semifinalist for the Campbell Trophy. William Campbell Trophy, of course, named after the captain of the only Columbia team that has won an Ivy title. The academic Heisman. Ivy League, the only league that had all programs getting a semifinalist for that award. Flag goes up on the snap, and there's a deflection. Ball was knocked by Dominic Young-Smith, but I think we're going to get a formation, or no, it's going to be offsides against Harvard here. So this will be a costly penalty to give Columbia a first down.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Offside, defense, number 3. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
Probably see that formation again, empty backfield, and then get away with that. It has a multitude of good receivers, but also it opens up running lanes for a dual threat quarterback.
Boy, what a big hit by Tyler Huneman on Cole Freeman. You know, that play doesn't count in the stats, but it counts as far as what Freeman feels. 1st and 10 from the 46 after Eric Little was called for the offside. Freeman now steps up. He floats one deep over the middle. It's caught inside the 5-yard line. Big time connection to Ethan Hebb. Just the 4th catch of the season for the North Carolina native.
The reality is probably needed more pressure on that quarterback. He had a lot of time back there to make the throw, and then good coverage, but great throw.
They are talking about this.
Ruling on the field is an incomplete pass.
So an expedited replay. You saw the juggle at the end here for Hebb.
Well, definitely dodged the bullet there.
Used that ground to pull it in. He sold it, which is what you got to do, but this should be a pretty good look here. certainly uses the ground to help secure it, and
Officials made a good call.
that's significant. Could be a big momentum changer here. Instead of talking about first and goal from the
The
4.
ruling on the
down.
field of an incomplete pass is under further review.
So
Time you see him heave it deep.
this time he goes to the sideline, and it's a short completion caught by Bryson Canty. No, excuse me, again, it's Marcus Lippman. They have not been able to find Canty. He's been well covered by the Harvard secondary. So Lippman has been the guy more often than not they've gone to. That's his 3rd catch. This one goes for just 2 yards. And 3rd and 8.
But to your point, between A.J. Lopez, Gavin Shipman, Damian Henderson, Miles Wiley, all those guys, really outstanding secondary. Great job by
That's Terry in the
secondary coach.
backfield with Cole Freeman. On 3rd and 8. Time, throws, caught, first down, spinning away from the tackle and inside the 40-yard line. There goes Jordan Kelly with his 2nd catch of the day.
The starting point is they're getting great protection. Harvard's not getting enough pressure on the quarterback right now, and he can go to the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd read.
They'll go quickly here, snap it with 25 on the play clock. Now Freeman, pressure from behind, throws against his body, incomplete. That time he was looking for Canty, but coverage from Damian Henderson, the sophomore from Tampa, Florida, guy who's a bit of a savant in that defensive backfield.
No question. Very deep group, very tight-knit group, and Ryan Crawford really does a great job with those guys.
Had Scott Larkey and Andy Orrick tell us that, boy, he's just one of the smartest players that you're ever going to be around, and he made an impact right away as a first year. Now he's a sophomore. And he's got that primetime matchup with Canty. 2nd down. It's Terry. Oh, he runs right into Eric Little, gets out of a tackle and gets to the 35-yard line. They mark him down at the 34, but good penetration by the Harvard defensive line. Good job by Terry to keep the line moving forward.
For sure. He's a tough kid. He's moving the ball.
Senior from Annapolis. And it's 3rd and 7. 3rd down today. Columbia 4 for 7. As a 3rd down offense this season, they are 1st in the Ivy League at 46%, 15th in the FCS.
Big down here.
Freeman rolling right, looking for a target. It's picked off, and it's Guillory again. Twice as nice for Austin J. Guillory, his 2nd interception. A sophomore who Scott Larkey told us this week he has been a big surprise to us. Low-key personality, but his plays have been anything but as he read it perfectly and held on.
Huge play for the Crimson.
You think that's a case where the quarterback just didn't see him?
Quarterback doesn't have a ton of overall experience, and he tried to force it in there, and I think Guillory tried to get him to make that throw.
Knew he had the speed to close in on the outside and get to where that pass would need to go.
Absolutely. He baited him.
2 interceptions, and they have been costly for Freeman and Columbia. Harvard will try and get the running game going with Exavea Bascon. Does a nice job of moving through the traffic cones there. Out to the 36-yard line for a pickup of 7.
Need more of that for the Crimson to stay on the field and balance their offense.
And Bascon, a guy a little bit overlooked when he was recruited as a small school guy.
Well, a quick anecdote. He went to the same high school as my wife. Different years, mind you.
So Martha gave the scouting report on Exavea as this run will spin across the 40 for a first down.
I guarantee you she is X's biggest fan.
Went to Swampscott High School before spending a postgraduate year up in New Hampshire at Phillips Exeter Academy. A couple of positive runs for Bascon, who's Harvard's leading rusher over 400 this season. See what Cooper Barkay did. Both of those catches on one drive, and he's got the only touchdown today. 1st and 10 for the 41. They fake it to Bascon. Craig wanted to go for it all. Has time. Flush to the outside. Craig throws, and this will skip up there. Is it caught? No. Incomplete. Had Barkay, but just couldn't get it to him.
Protection was excellent. They've done a great job in coverage because at times we've had a lot of time back there.
They just skipped up. They have 2 defensive backs on Cooper Barkay, leading the Ivy League in touchdowns this season. He's also 2nd in receptions, number 1 in reception yards. He has been the best wide receiver in the Ivy League this season. 2nd down. Craig again going deep. He's got DePrima, who makes the catch. Charles DePrima. It's his 6th catch of the season and his 2nd longest. He's inside the red zone.
Possibly the most versatile player in the country, Charles DePrima. That ball was a little bit underthrown. Part of that was wind, and part of it was he's just so doggone fast.
43 yards, and a guy who had been only in the quarterback room, now he's a little bit of everywhere. And he gets this drive a big jolt of life. And now DePrima, he'll run it. And falls forward to the 14. What does that say about the confidence in his stamina after that long pickup to say, hey, you could go ahead and run it on the next play?
Yeah, to have 2 quarterbacks with such a vast skill set is such a luxury.
And to be able to have the ability not just to be fast, but to be able to run a route and catch a ball that is hanging in the air with a defensive back all over you. You know, you hear it with baseball. You hear a guy's just a baseball player. He's just a football player.
You bet.
Craig, again, has time. Eyes toward the end zone, and he'll throw toward the sideline. Incomplete. He had Woods, who couldn't keep his footing.
Again, great job in coverage. Nothing has come easy throwing the football, and the big part of that is they're not getting a ton of pressure on our quarterback, and those guys have to cover, and they're doing a phenomenal job.
And Columbia, that's not their MO as a defense as far as pressuring the quarterback and getting sacks. They get it done effectively, but just differently.
Kudos to the offensive line group when you consider Austin Gentle is the only returning starter.
Gentle, Chattanooga, Tennessee native. He's the man in the middle, the center. Offensive line has been very good. Here's a pass for Gil Martin, who can't bring it in. Seamus Gil Martin, who's caught 4 touchdowns. And for Columbia, they've been undone by a couple of interceptions, but they've been able to move the ball at times against this Harvard defense.
Yeah, without the interceptions and without some of the other things, this is an even closer game.
Harvard only outgaining Columbia 169 to 156. So Lions still have plenty to feel confident about as Georgie will be dragged down from behind. Good play coming for the linebacker, and that's that man again. Mitchell Gonzer just has a real nose for where the football is.
And to your previous point, Alex, you're looking at the 2 best defensive teams in the league. Not going to be a shootout.
It's so odd. You always think about this part of the schedule being the real gauntlet when you've got Princeton, Dartmouth, and then, Columbia, and then you finish things out with Penn and Yale. But, this year, the gauntlet has been the Dartmouth-Columbia part based on the records of these teams. 3rd and 7. Over the middle, it's caught for a first down at the 40-yard line. And there is the catch from Bryson Canty, streaking with those in-cuts, which Harvard knew that they had to be ready for.
Yeah, he's going to double move Harvard at some point, I'm sure, and go over the top. But an elite receiver, very, very confident, and going to be the go-to guy.
We asked Coach Poppy about what makes him so special, and just the way he attacks the football and contorts his body. Pressure coming. Freeman goes down. He's sacked by Jacob Syke. The Ivy League leader in sacks brings Freeman back to the 29.
Jacob Syke has come a long way, and huge play. Kid, from the day he showed up here, he's just been insatiable in terms of work ethic, toughness. What can he do to improve? And now he's becoming a dynamic player.
19th in the FCS in sacks coming into this week. He had 2.5 sacks in the game against Princeton 2 weeks ago. Gets his first today, and it's now 2nd and 21. Columbia needs to get to midfield. Freeman. Time running out. On the move. Gonzer gets him again.
Great closing speed by Gonzer. He's always had that. Now that he really understands what he's doing at that position, he'll become one of the top linebackers in the league.
It's only a 2-yard loss. The pressure was initially brought by Alex DeGreek, but Mitchell Gonzer would not let Freeman get loose, and Harvard's done a really good job containing Freeman's legs today.
Well, I knew coming in they were going to say if they're going to beat us, they're going to have to beat us throwing the football. Don't let this kid run around because he will extend plays.
Harvard's statistically against the pass a little bit deceiving given the talent level they have, and teams often have to throw against them late. So on 3rd and 23, this is Terry, and just try and get the field position a little bit more favorable before bringing out Will Hughes, but back-to-back sacks really ruined that drive for Columbia.
Huge impact.
And Harvard this season, you think about their defensive line, it's not necessarily the same group that they've had in the last couple of years where opposing coaches would talk to us and be like, I don't know what we're going to do when you've got certain guys out there. You think of Truman Jones, you think of Thor Griffith, and this year not quite the same, but it's still a deep group and a productive group.
This is the 2-minute
to your point,
timeout.
those two guys are, as you talk about, are still, one is, a start. As the Marines say, no easy day.
Good weekend to say it. Happy early Veterans Day.
Amen.
As Will Hughes, he gets taken out on the punt. A flag pops out as the punt goes way out of bounds. Nearly hits Amanda over there on the sideline. But we'll have to see, is this going to be a roughing or running into the kicker penalty against Harvard? It's significant because if it's roughing, it's going to be a first down. And a drive extender, which was a problem last week for Harvard against Dartmouth. They only got called for 3 penalties, but there were 3 costly penalties.
Yeah, that would be a huge faux pas.
And these are 2 of the least penalized teams in the country.
And don't forget, last year, Harvard, we were the least
Running into the kicker. Defense. 5-yard penalty. Assessed at the end of the kick. First down.
So everyone in black, white, and crimson breathes a sigh of relief as it's merely a 5-yard penalty. Ty Bartram running into that leg. Will Hughes looked like he got hit by a Mack truck based on the contact, but that's what you have to do. You have to try and sell whatever contact you can to earn the call.
Well, we haven't talked a lot about Ty Bartram yet today, but to me, he may be the best FCS safety in the country. I've never seen a kid with his ability to just have such a high football IQ, to be at the right place at the right time. Great blitzer, great coverage guy. Great putting him in the box. He's like an extra linebacker. He is a special guy.
John Poppy not happy with the explanation from referee Henry Wimberg. He's a guy who had a hand, or at least was in the room when Ty Bartram was recruited as former secondary coach with the Crimson. And this drive starts with a running play, and what a nice dash here made by Exavea Bascon. He just has to turn the corner, and he's out of bounds, but not before getting to the 44-yard line. It's a pickup of 31 for the X-Man.
Well, pardon me if I call him X, but that's what I've always called him. But just love the kid. Has no ego, is a great team player, is sneaky fast, sneaky strong, and quite frankly, an even better football player than we thought he'd be.
Nahant, Massachusetts native, has really had big shoes to fill with the Ivy League rushing champion Shane McLaughlin out again today because of an injury that's hampered him much of this season. Craig on the move, and he will scramble forward inside the 40-yard line. You saw something downfield.
Yeah, no question. They busted the coverage, had the seam route wide open for a touchdown. Didn't quite see it, but still managed to get a positive play out of it.
It's a pickup of 5 here for Craig. Just couldn't quite see it in time before the pressure came. Craig hasn't run a lot this season, but he is certainly capable of doing damage with his legs.
Got to come away with points on this drive.
2nd and 5, closing in on a minute to the outside. Caden Oderman, he makes his second grab of the day, and he'll be a yard shy of the first down. Both teams have all 3 timeouts at their disposal, so Harvard does not have to stress right now about the clock. 3rd and 1. That clock continues to bleed. Harvard has to give opportunity for Columbia to substitute. It's DePrima in with Bascon.
If they don't get it, they got to go for it. Keep the ball.
It's Bascon. First down to the 30.
X weighs probably 185 pounds max, but bench press is about 360, so they're pound for pound. He's a
Timeout.
very strong
Harvard.
kid.
First of the half. 30 seconds.
So Harvard does take the timeout. 25 seconds left, and it's kind of an interesting situation. They wanted to rush, but
Please
not
reset
too much
the game
to allow
clock
Columbia
to
potential
28
chance for one more
seconds.
possession.
2-8. Thank you.
That's the first timeout that Harvard's used. And let's take a look at Charles DePrima, what he has done today. Seen him on the ground. He will throw the ball from time to time. This time he fakes the throw and with the run. And for DePrima, his biggest play has come in the passing game, but not what you usually see from a quarterback. He's on the receiving end of this deep pass. He had a long pass against Brown that went for 52 yards for a reception. And here today, he has had an impact. So 1st and 10 from the 31.
Got to do a great job of the clock management here.
Going for the end zone for Oderman. Knocked down, and here's the flag.
Looks like a pretty obvious call.
Be a pass interference in the end zone, so 15 yards. This will go against Carter McFadden, the senior from Montgomery, New Jersey, in coverage. Yeah, just that
Pass
little
interference.
push.
Defense, number 23. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
So it's an efficient way to move the ball 15 yards. You only took 5 seconds off the clock. Still have 2 timeouts. And at the 16-yard line.
Yeah, good clock management thus far for the Crimson.
That's something Andy Orrick, one of his strengths is attention to detail. And it's something that other coaches have noted on his staff that are working with him for the first time, that he brings a lot of those things that he learned from Coach Surace at Princeton, but also Coach Schiano at Rutgers. Craig on first down.
Great
has
protection.
Plenty of time. Throws, and it's tipped up in the air. Incomplete. Oh, he was looking for Dean Boyd, who hasn't caught a pass all season. And it nearly was picked off.
Don't love the throw.
See, Craig has been bothered in terms of completion percentage by Columbia, even when he's had time to throw.
Yeah, kudos. They do a great job in their secondary. They're getting good pressure. And, this is probably the hardest team down the stretch to throw the ball against.
And on a day where the wind is swirling, that is an added element to factor in. So 2nd and 10. Craig fires, end zone just out in front of Gil Martin. It's a couple of times he's tried to hit Gil Martin on big plays, but just a little bit off today.
Good route by Gil Martin up the seam.
That one where the quarterback just put it a little bit too far out in front in your eyes?
Yeah, that was a close one.
So 3rd and 10. We saw Columbia's defense firm up inside the 20 in the first quarter, trying to do so again before halftime. On 3rd down, Craig to the end zone. Back shoulder throw. It's broken up. Looking for Barkate at the pylon.
Really good coverage. Did a great job looking back at the quarterback to not draw the flag.
Barkate, a touchdown earlier today, but now it's up to the field goal unit. We saw a miss from 32 earlier in the quarter. This one will be from 34. That wind blowing left to right as you see it here. Hold good, snap down, kick up, and it is good. So Core bounces back from the miss. And with 1 second on the clock, it's 13-0 Harvard.
That's a big 3 points.
It's good for a kicker and someone in his position. You have a miss, you have an opportunity very next drive to be able to come back, rectify it before you go into the 20-minute halftime.
Yeah, no question about it. You know, he could end up this being a close game and having to make a big one at the end, but everybody breathes a sigh of relief. Good way to go into the locker room.
See Andy Orrick repping your old hat here on this Veterans Day weekend. Head coach for the Crimson off to a great start. You see that note at the bottom. He is up to the most wins by a first-year Harvard head coach since way back in 1931. Coach Edward L. Casey took the Crimson to 7 wins that season. And but you were taking over when you were a head coach for first year, a very different program as to what the program was coming off. It took you guys a few years, but once you got it rolling, boy, the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, I think Andy's done a tremendous job. Having said that, we had a great group coming back that were Ivy League champions, and to have the the quarterback back for 2 more years, a tremendous group of receivers certainly didn't hurt.
Core to kick it off. This will be a little dribbler, and that will allow the final second to roll off the clock and take us to halftime. So in that first half, not perfect, but you didn't expect it to be for Harvard based on the high-level competition today.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. 2 of the best teams in general, 2 of the best defensive teams, the 2 best defensive teams in the league. So, but any defense that comes out of there with a goose egg, you're in good shape.
2 Kieran Core field goals and a 34-yard touchdown catch to Cooper Barkate with a couple of interceptions by Austin J. Guillory have been the big plays today. And Harvard takes a 13-0 lead into halftime. They'll receive the second half kickoff, and we'll have it be a bouncing ball, interesting on the ground, and this will be picked up by an up man, and Harvard returns it out close to the 25-yard line, so they keep it out of the hands of Bascon, a dangerous returner. The third member of our crew is Amanda Keene. Amanda, what did you find out from the coaches at halftime?
Thanks, Alex. When I talked to head coach John Poppy, he said, finish, finish, finish. We really need to execute and finish these plays. They're making really good calls, but their turnovers are killing them. For head coach Andy Orrick, he is thrilled with the takeaways that they've been able to get on defense, but he says they need to get off the field on third down. And as far as the offense goes, they don't want to force it. He says we need to tell Jaden Craig to not have to make a huge play every single opportunity.
Craig will go to the air on the first offensive play of the second half, and he gets it into the hands of his trusty wide receiver, Scott Woods, for a Harvard first down, a pickup of 11 yards. Andy Orrick, when he took over the job, he knew that he didn't need to make wholesale changes based on what he was inheriting from you last year. But he said, one thing that I want to be with this team is we want to be obsessed with the football. Take it away, hold on to it. And today, they've been obsessed in a good way, +2 on the turnover margin.
Yeah, ball security is critical, no question about it.
Exavea Bascon leans forward and manages to pick up 4 here. Bascon, team's leading rusher now, 50 yards rushing on 7 carries. And let's take a look at our impact players. Cooper Barkate, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Austin J. Guillory, 2 interceptions. What have you seen from those 2 guys that's been so impressive?
Well, Cooper's the toughest guy on the field to cover, no question about that. Put ex-Bascon in there. And if Harvard can continue to work the clock and run the football, certainly going to take a little bit of a load off the pass game.
We saw Marcus Lippman there as an impact player for Columbia. He's been the other guy because they have not been able to get the ball into the hands of Bryson Canty that often. It's been Lippman, the beneficiary of maybe the extra coverage to Canty.
Well, again, we've had great coverage overall, especially when you consider the depth of this receiving core.
3rd and 3. Harvard connects. There's Barkate to midfield.
Like the way they're dinking and dunking, not throwing the shots downfield, and that's becomes part of the run game almost.
I know it's early in the drive, but based on what Amanda heard from Coach Orrick, it seems like the adjustment was made. Let's try and pick up these short intermediate plays and not feel like we need to connect on the explosives that, certainly Columbia was prepared for today, and Mickey Fine is always looking for.
Yeah, they haven't played a lot of press coverage, so some of the layups are there.
Flags come out. This will be a procedure penalty against Harvard.
Ball start. Offense, number 77. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Third penalty for the Crimson. All have been 5-yard penalties.
I'll tell you, overall, for this very young, relatively inexperienced offensive line, those kids have done a great job.
And Spencer Doan was called for the false start there, but you've been really impressed with him this season.
6'7" kid who, starting as a sophomore as a left tackle, he's got the biggest job on that line.
Handoff, Bascon. He will get the penalty yardage back. And it's 2nd and 10 upcoming.
Again, seeing a little bit different up front, getting a push at the line of scrimmage and wanting to, put your will into them. But beyond that, set up the pass with the run.
We've talked about Bascon not, of course, being a guy who's been really good, but not having Shane McLaughlin as good as Bascon is. That's a blow from a production standpoint and a leadership standpoint, as Craig flushed to the outside and not on the same page with Scott Giuliano.
Yeah, again, same thing. They've done a good job coverage. We're getting good protection at the line of scrimmage. Harvard is that. But, again, got to be able to dink and dunk these guys because they're doing a good job defending the downfield throws.
Big third down coming up here. Harvard today, 3 for 9 on third down. And they have both quarterbacks on the field. That's DePrima in the slot. He'll be at the bottom of your picture now in motion. They throw it his way, and that one did not come out right. Incomplete. And after a promising start, that drive fizzles out nearly 3 minutes into the second half. So Columbia does a good job making sure that 13-0 gap doesn't grow here initially in the third quarter. And you see Sebastian Tasco, this is another factor of Harvard Stadium. We talk about the wind, but the sun right in the punter's eyes as he receives the snap. Gets it away, and a fair catch will be called for and made inside the 15-yard line. And a bad season by their standards. They certainly are frisky enough to cause some fear, but just too much that they've lost from last year, making them, preventing them from being a factor in the Ivy League this season. So first offensive drive for Columbia. Quarterback Cole Freeman, 9 of 18 through the air for 117 yards and hasn't really been able to get it going on the ground. As a team, Columbia hasn't consistently done enough damage with their rushing attack.
Pretty good start there. They came in with a bunch set and ran a little bit of power up front, and they have manageable second down.
At this point in the season, how much can your team adjust from the first half to the second half? How much of the game plan can they tweak based on the information you have over the first 30 minutes as we get a first down run here and a good pickup by Joey Georgie?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any gigantic swings in what they're doing. They just have to do certain things better, but I think to take a little pressure off the quarterback, they want to come out here and run the football.
Are you surprised they haven't had more designed runs for Cole Freeman, or is Harvard just taking that away with how they're playing it?
It's been a combination of both.
So 1st and 10 after the back-to-back positive runs. And Freeman, the fiery Summit, New Jersey native, will hand it off again. And a good cut across the 30-yard line. And this is a good start to this drive into this half for Columbia against a Harvard team that's been stingy on the ground, but not impenetrable, as we saw in that game against Holy Cross this season.
Yeah, what Harvard has done a generally good job of, what Coach Larky's done a good job with is, bend but don't break. But, number one every year is you got to stop the run. If you can't stop the run, the rest of the stuff will come easy.
It's Griffin Johnson to the right of Freeman. Let's see if they run it for a fourth consecutive time. And they do. Johnson right up the middle to the 40-yard line. A 9-yard pickup here for the Marysville, Ohio native. Guys, an interesting family background. They've got a farm with a flock of sheep. They've been raising them since 2015, so
Ivy League kids come from everywhere.
it's amazing. There is no one area that any of these teams get their talented student athletes from.
Well, thus far, Columbia is making a bit of a statement physically.
Trying to wear down Harvard. Now it's Freeman. He pulled the ball out of the belly of his running back and then scampers forward for a pickup of 8.
Well,
Cole Freeman transferred after 3 years at Northwestern. He only played 1 game last year. 2 years ago, he played in 3 games, but remember they had the coaching change a couple of years ago at Northwestern. The previous offensive coordinator with the Wildcats had a connection with John Poppy and said, hey, you're taking over at Columbia. You lost both your quarterbacks last year. You might be interested in this guy. And he's had a nice season. Under pressure, he unloads, but over the head of the running back, Johnson.
kind of surprised by the call. They're moving the football, and on 3rd down and 2 to throw the ball at midfield. Interesting call.
Saitu Smith, the play caller. Wide receiver and return man for the Crimson, graduate of the college in 2015. Bounced around the Ivy League as an assistant at a few different spots. Brown, Dartmouth, Yale most recently, and now leading the offense at Columbia.
Very impressive. He's done a great job.
On 3rd and 2, needing to get to midfield. They do keep it on the ground. Harvard makes the initial stop, but what a follow by Johnson to get the first down. It looked like he was dead to rights a couple of yards from the line to gain, but the extra effort by Griffin Johnson, the sophomore, wills his team to a first down. So Harvard will have to stay out there on the field. That's something that Andy Orr told Amanda. We need to get off the field and be a little bit better on 3rd down. Handoff, not this time.
Big play, good call.
Dominic Young-Smith steps right up. A stalwart, says his defensive coordinator, Scott Larkey. You were saying even by Harvard standards, he's a pretty smart guy.
Oh, a tremendously bright kid, comes from a great family, and admissions. That's one of the kids where admissions will say, "Boy, keep sending guys like that." Brilliant kid.
His father was a football player at the University of Florida. Dad Dexter sees his son get a 4-yard tackle for loss. 2nd and 14. Freeman to the outside. It's off the hands of Kelly.
Dodged the bullet there.
Tight coverage from Austin Jake Guillory, who's got 2 interceptions today, and 3rd and long. Boy, a promising drive. How it gets to midfield, it just takes one play seemingly to throw that train off the tracks.
Well, they were on schedule for the first 3 first downs. They get a little bit off schedule and not necessarily their forte.
As we mentioned, statistically terrific on 3rd down, although I'm sure those percentages drop on 3rd and 14.
Got the nickel package in here.
And again, it's off the hands, this time of Ethan Hebb. Tried to get that tunnel screen to the outside, but Harvard doesn't even have to make a play, and they'll force a punt.
Big stop for the Crimson.
Ty Bartram was in the area. Bartram wearing that club, although he's got it now matching his uniform color. Last week it was a white cast he wore on his right arm. This week with the black uniforms, the black cast. You have to accessorize, Coach.
Ty Bartram might be the most important player on their defense.
Been outstanding once again. Hughes to punt. And the dangerous Scott Woods back to return. Line drive at the 13. Dances out of a tackle. This is what Scott Woods does. Up the sideline. And he'll cut it back before going down at the 40. They think he went out of bounds at the 31, though. So that is a significant update. Scott Woods banged up as Charles DePrima makes another reception, and he'll battle his way to the 41-yard line. It's a gain of 5 yards, and it'll be 2nd and 5 here for Harvard, but no overstating the loss of Woods if, in fact, he can't come back into the game for this Harvard offense.
No question, electric player, arguably the fastest guy on the field, but I like how Harvard's going with tempo. I think that's helped them they're putting Columbia a little bit back on their defensive heels.
Once again, they have both quarterbacks out there. DePrima is in the slot at the top of the screen. They throw left, but not to DePrima, to Cooper Barkate. First down, stiff arm, down to the 30-yard line.
Seen a lot of soft coverage here from Columbia. You're going to see a little bit more man-to-man. They're not going to give you those gimmies, those layups, because it's like running the football.
And Mickey Fine has said that, when we throw, oftentimes it's to Woods. When we have those plays that don't travel very far as past the line of scrimmage, those are the type of plays that are additions to our running game. Here's a play action fake, and Craig, nothing open downfield yet, and he'll dump this one just out of reach. Again, looking for Dean Boyd. Amanda, you've got an update.
Come out of that injury tent, did a little bit of practice running, put his helmet on, and he is on the sidelines, guys.
Looks like he's ready to come back in the game, and you talk about a lot of the bullets that Harvard has dodged. That might be the biggest one if, in fact, he's able to be continuing in this game.
Again, offensive line doing a good job protecting the quarterback. I would like to see, or would not be surprised to see, Jaden run a few more of these and gain 5.
Bascon, big hole on the right side, and he'll explode to the 25. And set up for a third and manageable for the Harvard offense. Drive was sparked by the punt return by Woods, starting from the 31-yard line. And now the Crimson are trying to convert a big third down. This has been an area where Columbia's defense has been terrific. Harvard 4 for 11 on third down today.
They do not want to settle for 3 here.
It's DePrima in at quarterback. He's got it, an escort in front of him. DePrima, right side. He'll be spun down shy. He's at the 22. And needing to get to the 20, it's decision time for Andy Orick, and I think the decision was made before that third down run. Going to go for it on 4th and short. This is something that Coach Orick has done so much this season. He's been very aggressive going for it on 4th down. And he's got the guy that can convert a lot of 4th downs out there in DePrima.
And this could be just a scramble. They could go back to pass here, give him the option to just take it.
He will keep it and sprint forward for the first down. Boy, he makes it look so easy with that explosiveness, but a hole was there too.
No question. Okay, you got a little bit of eye candy on the movement, and got a chance to wind it back there.
That's the thing. The offensive line was such a big question mark coming into the season, with a lot of players not returning, guys in new roles, and they've acquitted themselves so nicely. First and 10 from the 17 after the 5-yard run. This time it's Bascon. He'll cut his way up. Met at the 13 and a pickup of 4 for Exavea Bascon, the sophomore. Columbia, this is kind of a dangerous territory to be in this game. You give up a touchdown, all of a sudden that clock starts to look like a real enemy to you.
Would not be shocked if they come with a blitz here. Having 3 wide receivers, though, may put a stop to that.
And they've got Gil Martin, who might as well be a wide receiver. It's DePrima keeping it himself. We've got a flag on the play inside the 10-yard line. And we'll see if this run is coming back. It was close to the first down.
Offense, number 71. 10-yard penalty, second down.
The right tackle, Thomas O'Brien, the backup right tackle, getting some run. Although it looks like he's playing potentially on the left side here right now for Spencer Doan. So O'Brien whistled for the penalty. Phillips Academy Andover graduate. Let's take a look. He's playing at left tackle on this play. Coach, you saw it as the play was developing. Sends Harvard back to the 23, 2nd and 16. Craig, again, he's had time all afternoon. Throwing for the end zone. This is nearly intercepted. Incomplete. Officials say incomplete, even though that ball found itself into the legs of, like that's Carter McFadden. And a couple of times Craig has gotten away with one.
Craig can make all the throws, but when you're running to your left, trying to throw to your right, you got to be really careful.
He certainly has trust in his arm. Let's take a look at the back end here.
Well, one thing you're thinking here is you got to come away with 3 at least.
Craig on third down.
Great protection.
Eyes downfield, brought down from behind. He is taken down by Joshua Powell, the defensive end from Richmond, Virginia. First sack of the season. And finally, the Columbia line gets to Craig. Never saw him coming. And so a long field goal attempt of 48 yards will come from Core. Into the swirling winds. Hard to tell exactly where that wind is coming from. Kick on the way, and that won't come close. Way to the left. Second missed field goal for Harvard today. And the sack pushes Harvard back and keeps the Crimson off the scoreboard. Joshua Powell gets home. A pleasant surprise with how big of an impact he made last year as a sophomore.
You know, it's interesting. Best player at his position in the league, could play anywhere and never says a word. Silent but deadly.
Cole Freeman calls his own number, and that was a good decision. He's got a first down and more into Harvard territory and knocked out of bounds at the 40. It's a 30-yard scramble. Best play of the day on the ground for the Columbia offense.
No question at halftime that they talked about putting it in his hands, got to run the football more and make people have to account for him.
Mention the injuries that Columbia has suffered. 2 weeks ago, Chase Goodwin went down. He was the starting quarterback, but John Poppy really was high on both of his quarterbacks, Goodwin and Cole Freeman, coming out of camp. And Freeman got into games even though Goodwin was the starter, so they didn't really feel like there was any drop-off when he came in at quarterback. And obviously, after running for 82 yards against Yale last week, the 30-yard pickup here today, he's a guy who can hurt you multiple ways.
Well, he was in the Big Ten for a reason.
Out of the Del Barton School before going to Northwestern. Did see a lot of playing time. In high school, he was a second-team All-State player, 3-year high school starter. Had 49 touchdown passes and 16 rushing touchdowns in his high school career. And they play some good high school football in Jersey.
Those are pretty gaudy stacks.
No accident, some of the best players in the Ivy League come out of the Garden State as the second down run across the 35-yard line. It's going to set up a 3rd and 5 for Columbia. Desperate need of points. We'll see if they run a play before the end of the quarter.
They seem to have come out of the halftime with the mentality that we have to run the football. We have to make them be able to play assignment football, which you can do if you have a mobile quarterback. You run option-type plays, so definitely
this is the end of the third
the
quarter.
Harvard defense has stymied Columbia's offense. For Harvard, they're so fortunate they've got the rest of this season and next season. But right now, more importantly, it's 3rd and 5 for the Columbia offense, looking to get on the scoreboard for the first time. Freeman. Looks like he's trying to use cadence to get Harvard to give him those 5 yards. They change up the play. Georgie in the backfield. Harvard shows blitz. They give it to Georgie around the left side. He'll be short of the first down. He will get to the 32. And you figure it's 4th and go for it for John Poppy.
Yeah, they're not kicking field goals here.
So that play did exactly what they needed to do. It gives you the option to run it or throw it here on 4th down.
Yeah, I'd be wary of the quarterback carrying the football here with the extra. Extra blocker.
He's got Griffin Johnson, whose block helped pave the way for the game-sealing run last weekend against Yale. This time it's Johnson who gets it, burrowing forward, and will he get there? First look, he's shy. Needs to get to the 30, and the initial referee spotting of the football, he's short. First down, Harvard.
Huge stop for the Crimson.
Big stop on 4th and 2. He got 1.5 yards. And how about the faith they have in the sophomore Griffin Johnson when you've got an all-Ivy running back in Joey Georgie? It's the sophomore who gets it, and he comes up just shy.
Tyler Hooneman, physical presence on that, knocked the offensive line back, and sustained the line of scrimmage.
What do the Harvard coaches tell us? He's so laid back. Sometimes you don't notice that he's doing the right thing, but he is so disruptive. Overshadowed by Thor the last couple of years, but he is as steady as it gets. 1st and 10 for Harvard. And a running play by Exavea Bascon. He'll make it out to the 35-yard line. And boy, what a deflating feeling. Columbia's got to find a way to rebuild that energy level back up because they're still right in this game.
No question about it. Harvard's thing is going to be, for sure, run the football, play action pass when they have to, protect the football.
Caden Kaufman in motion. And Charles DePrima will hand off. Bascon breaks a tackle. He's got the first down. Rumbles down to the 44. It's a pickup of 9 for the Nahant native.
X has always had such a great feel for setting up blocks, and it looks like there's nothing there, and all of a sudden he spills it.
That's been really amazing, the stable of running backs that Harvard has been able to employ over the last few years, and it just seems like there's always a next guy.
I think a big part of that, too, is they've always had great offensive line groups. It's what's up front that counts.
Bascon, again, will get positive yardage out to midfield. Good, strong run to the 50.
Very impressive, and I've said it once or twice in this broadcast, but for a young offensive line, most of these kids returning, you've got an All-American candidate, Austin Gentle, at center. Those guys are all new. Kudos to the offensive line coach. Kudos to the offense. Those guys are really playing at a high level.
As far as the running backs, I'll put you on the spot. Did you have a favorite or two that you just loved watching them out there do their thing?
Well, I love watching Clifton Dawson because he made us all very good coaches. All-time leading rusher in Ivy League history from Canada.
Made his way to the Indianapolis Colts in the NFL. He was a 3-time All-Ivy performer, I think. Exavea Bascon makes it a 3rd and 1, and Harvard will just continue to bleed that clock here. A couple of minutes on this drive, and it might not seem like much, but when Columbia's down by 2 scores, this is precious time that's milked away.
And to your point, he went in the Hall of Fame with Ryan Fitzpatrick 3 weeks ago.
Bascon will hit at the line, and he will get enough for the first down. They'll move the chains. Good job by Columbia to turn that run to a short gainer, and instead it looked like it could have been broken for a long one.
Yeah, there were 9 guys in the box on the line of scrimmage.
Bascon creeping closer to 100 yards on the day. He has a season-high 99. He did that against the other Ivy League program from the state of New York. Did it at Cornell on a Friday night. To the air this time. Craig ducks out of trouble. On the move, and he'll barrel forward. Boy, that's when you're reminded how big of a guy Jaden Craig is.
Yeah, I think he probably has had a couple of opportunities to do that as well today. Glad to see him do that. Put you on schedule.
Columbia player was down, and that's Anthony Russos, who got himself back up, but we've got an injury. And they've got Malik Frederick in the game at running back. Charles DePrima is standing behind center at quarterback. See if the ball gets in Frederick's hands. It does. He quickly bounces to the outside and then gives everything he can to make it a 4-yard, 5-yard pickup, a yard shy of the first down. He's somebody that you were impressed with as part of that running back room.
Yeah, talking to our coaches, he's come a long way. You would not have predicted that he would be someone you could really depend on in big games, not because of anything other than he hasn't had a lot of playing time, and he's played extremely well this year and given X and certainly losing your captain at running back, giving us more depth.
They're hopeful that Shane McLaughlin will be back by next week, but we'll see. DePrima to the outside, physically getting there, and he's got the first down. Now, Charles DePrima added 10 pounds of muscle from last year to this year to get ready for a role like this, and it comes in handy on a play like that.
Yeah, that was a savvy, athletic, and physical run.
Mickey Fine said he was ready for it. He was so excited for this role, and goodness, you got to know you're going to take a little bit of punishment when the game is on the line and the other team's desperate for a stop.
It also tells you a little bit about what the game plan is here.
Keeping it on the ground. Bascon gets it, and he'll go nowhere. He's swallowed up. That was Charlie Newton, who took Rocco Milia's spot as a starting linebacker. Newton, the sophomore from Chicago, guy who got into some games last year as a first year, and they really have a lot of confidence in him.
Second and long looks like a throwing down, obviously getting quarterback back in the game, but could do anything here.
Harvard, even if they don't score, they've taken 5 minutes off the clock since they stopped Columbia on fourth down. Scott Woods in the slot, but they will keep it on the ground. Bascon got through the first line of defenders down to the 32-yard line.
I think it's safe to say they do not want to line up for a field goal.
It's interesting that the two misses today, but they do have so much confidence in Core. He was such a high recruit, and they've had other issues as part of that operation that have tainted some things this season, but they just haven't attempted very many field goals for a couple of reasons. Of course, the aggressiveness that Andy Orrick has had is a primary reason. And it's paid off. Highest scoring team in the league. Craig pumps, throws. Gilmartin first down to the 20, and he'll be knocked out of bounds inside the 15. And boy, when you're at third down, you need yardage. How great is it to have a tight end like Gilmartin?
Huge play. And when you consider that you lost two all-Ivy kids last year, Tyler Neville, who's now a starter for University of Virginia, and Timmy Dow, two great ones, and to be able to come back and put those guys on the field is just tremendous.
18-yard connection to Gilmartin. He, Scott Giuliano, and Ryan Osborne have formed a heck of a three-headed monster at tight end. Your
Really,
old position group.
Really happy for Scotty Giuliano. He's been banged up. Great kid.
Handoff, Bascon. Nothing there. And clock will continue to run under 8 minutes here. Obviously, Harvard trying to burn time, but now we'll get a stoppage as Bascon has to come off the field. I think his helmet came off. But Harvard in that clock-killing mode right now, and if they can add points on top of it, that will be the ultimate cherry.
You practice this every Thursday.
Giuliano, who you just mentioned, is out there blocking on the right side. Handoff, Frederick. He'll scamper forward to the 11-yard line. Only a pickup of a couple, but still they'll be able to take their next snap under 7 minutes on this drive. Another third down. How is Tyler Neville? You were down there for that game where Virginia faced Louisville and Thor.
Tyler's the greatest kid ever. Both kids were starters for their teams. Both kids played extremely well. Tyler plays every snap of every game for Virginia and has made a lot of friends, not surprisingly.
3rd and 7. Columbia desperate for a stop. Try and hold Harvard to a field goal attempt. Craig has DePrima. Craig back to pass, looking for Charles in the end zone. He's got it for the touchdown. Quarterback to quarterback. And for DePrima, it's his first career touchdown reception.
Two things. Number one, great protection up front. Two, great poise and seemingly very appropriate quarterback to quarterback play.
And that's number 20 of the season for Jaden Craig. And with the clock being what it is, it might be the dagger for Columbia this afternoon. Harvard will go for two to try and make it a 21-point lead. Got Barkate, Woods, and Oderman on the outside. And now Bascon in motion. Craig scrambles right, throws too tall. He was looking for the tight end, or rather the wide receiver. Cooper Barkate, Gilmartin was right there, so Harvard doesn't connect on the two. But still, it's a three-score game now. 19-0 Crimson. Craig to DePrima. Who would have every year?
Absolutely.
Probably for a number of reasons, off the field as well as on the field. End over end, and a ball into the end zone. And Columbia will take over at the 25-yard line, but boy, they just haven't had answers for this combination, notably Charles DePrima, with the way that he has played a kind of a Cordell Stewart slash type of game.
Great job by Harvard's coaches in terms of mixing and matching the personnel and making them have to defend a lot of different things in the run game. Obviously they did a great job in the secondary, but to run the football or play great run defense, it's very rare in modern college football you're going to see a 0 on one end of the scoreboard.
Cole Freeman will try and make sure that doesn't happen. He's got over 6.5 minutes to get his team in the end zone. He's 9 of 21 through the air today, 117 yards, and there's a big completion to Marcus Lidman, who was the number one receiver in this game in the first half. That's his first reception of the second half, and it's a big one all the way down to the Harvard 45-yard line. 30-yard gain, and that's the best ball that we've seen Freeman throw today. He's got Malcolm Terry with him in the backfield as Columbia will have to go quick the rest of this game. To the outside, great attempt, but incomplete. It was Canty, the target, and Damian Henderson locked in.
Tremendous play, good throw, would have been a good catch. Boy, he just muscled it out of there. So impressed by the secondary.
Damian Henderson, yeah, he played cornerback in high school, but he also played wide receiver, running back in high school. Maybe that mind as a quarterback is what sets him apart as a guy who seems to know what's going on every single play.
You got to be a great athlete to play corner.
Freeman has plenty of time, trying to see if something opens up downfield. Flushed, throws, incomplete.
Great coverage.
It was Syke and Nick Jagadich who came in at the end of that play. They love Jagadich for his toughness.
Yeah, Nick is one of those guys that, he's not going to be a guy that does a great job at the combine, but tough, physical, loves to play, and his teammates love him.
3rd and 10. Back-to-back incompletions after the 30-yard pickup to Lidman. Freeman, here's a safety blitz. That pass is caught. It's picked up by Terry, spins out of a tackle, but cannot avoid Zayden Benson and the rest of the Harvard defense. It's a gainer out to the 40-yard line, and 4th down coming up again for Columbia.
Probably should have got out of bounds there.
Clock running, would have temporarily stopped had he gotten out of bounds until they respotted the football. But taking a while for that play to come in. It's about 30 seconds have drained off the clock. 4th and 5. Columbia trying to keep the game going. Freeman, he'll try and run for it. No, sir! He is sandwiched down at the 40. Jacob Syke administered the finishing blow. And for the second consecutive drive, 19-0. And, well, this would do a lot of good things for their season. And here in the short term, extend the winning streak to 6 games, longest in almost a decade. But more importantly, boy, it's going to set up the last 2 weeks as a so often does. Ivy League important games, even though, Dartmouth, the other team who's got that one loss, they won't face them again, of course.
Really impressive. Anytime you got a goose egg on defense at this stage of the game, not wanting to put any pressure on is phenomenal in modern football.
Charles DePrima in the game at quarterback. He'll keep it himself and look to get around that edge. DePrima knocked out of bounds by Carter McCray, the cornerback. The clock will restart as he goes out of bounds on this side of 2 minutes. And, well, for DePrima, it's such a great full circle for him, because you look back a little over a year ago, by some, he was a midseason All-American. He had that great start at quarterback. You make the change in the Dartmouth game to go to Craig. Craig gets his first start against Columbia. Ends up being, of course, a great call. Craig played great, and he comes into this season as a starter. And, for Charles, he could have gone a few different ways emotionally, and he bounced back in a big way. And the role that the coaching staff has given him has allowed him to really showcase the talent that he has.
Yeah, getting back to, just for a second, the we thing, I think the thing that we did a really good job of recruiting through the years, 30 years, is we recruited character over ability. And, it's hard to realize how that's going to work out. But generally speaking, those are the kids that sort of transcend any limitations they have and make you a good football team.
And DePrima has played a starring role. Usually there's only enough space on the field for one quarterback, but the coaching staff has done a great job of getting the best players on the field and impacting games in positive ways. And now Harvard is a little over 3.5 minutes away from putting another one in the win column. And here is the sprinter speed of Charles DePrima. Another touchdown. 52 yards for the senior from New Jersey.
Kudos to the coaching staff for how they've developed these packages and being able to play both guys, and it makes for a very happy locker room on many levels.
It's going to be very happy in that Harvard locker room, in the DePrima household, as playing in his penultimate home game, the Harvard senior. He's caught a touchdown, and now he's run for a touchdown. Point after from Kieran Core is on the way, and it's good. It did sneak in inside that right upright, and it's a 26-0 lead, and Harvard has pulled away in this fourth quarter emphatically. Now on cue, we're talking about DePrima, and you talking about the character, but let's also talk about the physical ability. Once he gets into the open field, no one's going to catch this guy.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, you got a 6'3" quarterback that's the fastest guy on the field. And, kudos to Mickey Fine, who was our Jersey recruiter, and recruited both of those guys.
Yeah, you told us a year ago that you'd never had a more explosive quarterback with his legs. And my goodness, when it shows like this, we all remember the Cornell game last year where he broke the tape like he was coming across on a 200-meter sprint, and this time he didn't need to. He looked back and said, "Nobody is catching up with me."
The other thing about our guy is he does not lack confidence.
What a day for Charles DePrima. 75 yards rushing. He also has 59 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. As this kick might end up going out of bounds, it will for a penalty.
Those are stats you will not see every day,
especially for a guy with a QB next to his name. You might see it from a running back or a certain wide receiver.
Free kick out of bounds by the kicking team. By rule, the ball will be placed at the 35-yard line. First down.
And he has thrown a touchdown this season. So
40-yard line.
Got a rushing touchdown, a throwing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown this year. You wonder if there was more time and this game was a bit more competitive, you might see him pull off the Walter Payton, David Patton, and potentially do one of each in the same game. But I don't think that's going to happen today. So the kick out of bounds puts Columbia at the 30-yard line, and on the other side of this, this is tough for Columbia because you had your two big tests, Harvard and Dartmouth 2 weeks ago, and they were able to come back and make that score a bit closer after Dartmouth jumped out to a big lead. But it's tough for the special season that Columbia has had to, in your two biggest tests, have these types of outcomes. And for John Poppy, it's going to be a job to get his team back up to that emotional level for the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I think Pop has done a terrific job. I think that's very obvious. But the second part of the equation is this Harvard team, hey, they don't have any weaknesses. Offense, defense, special teams. Probably need to make a few more field goals, but other than that, an incredibly balanced team.
It's a good point. Harvard could have over 30 points if everything had gone their way today, but you can't get everything in life sometimes. Elements play a role in that today. It's been a very windy day at the stadium. We've got one more game left here in this stadium this year, and that's 2 weeks from today against the Bulldogs. Of course, Harvard will not overlook Penn, given the Ivy race is as tight as it is. Never easy to go down to Franklin Field and come away with a win.
Agreed.
Pass over the middle. Oh, what a grab! Canty.
Wow, that is a highlight catch.
Canty, of course he can. And that was spectacular. Just a taste of what he can do. Goodness, with one hand. The highlight of the day here, as this will be a quarterback takedown. It's a different quarterback in the game here for Columbia on this drive. It's for the Lions, Cole Freeman out, and Caleb Sanchez is in, getting his first playing time, the first-year quarterback. So Sanchez, the one unleashing that. Second down. Sanchez to the outside, and that is
Oh boy.
Is this a catch and a fumble? And it looks like it will be. Harvard gets it on the turnover. A.J. Lopez. Ball was deemed to have been caught, and wouldn't be surprised if they review this.
Ruling on the field is a completed pass and fumble recovered by the defense. First down.
Reviewing that last play to see if it was a catch and a fumble or an incomplete pass. Let's hear what Henry Wimberg has to say.
After further review, the pass was incomplete. We'll have third down on the 39-yard line.
So Harvard does not get another takeaway here. We'll take another look. Seemed like this was didn't stay in the wide receiver's hands for quite long enough. What do you think after seeing that, Coach?
That was a close one.
Worth another look, but Crimson will have to go back on defense. 3rd and 11, 1:59 to go. And Caleb Sanchez in the game at quarterback, replacing Cole Freeman, the starter. Freeman ended up going 11 of 25 with 2 interceptions, 152 yards. He did rush for a net of 19. Of course, a lot of his rushing yards was eaten up by Harvard's pressure and sacks. This has been the part of the field where Columbia's offense has sputtered. They've moved the ball at times today. Sanchez, beautiful ball, and that is caught inside the 5-yard line. What a play by Marcus Lipman, who's made a number of them today, and now Columbia can try to avoid the shutout in the final 2 minutes. And we get a whistle before this ball gets snapped.
Timeout or procedure?
Don't see a flag on the field.
Prior to the play, timeout. Harvard. First of the half, 30 seconds.
Andy Orrick trying to slow things down. You saw Columbia wanted to go quickly, but a couple of pretty nice pass plays here by Caleb Sanchez. And, as a coach, what are you thinking when you see a first-year come in, making his debut in a game like this that's out of hand, getting this opportunity?
I think the reality is mathematically they know the deal. It's not a game that's winnable. Get this kid in, give him some reps, see what he can do, and they obviously must think fairly highly of him.
Yeah, he's not even listed on the depth chart.
Please reset the game clock to 1 minute 48 seconds. 1:48. Thank you.
A.J. Simpkins is listed as the backup quarterback. And really, remember, Chase Goodwin was the starter, so you're talking about Caleb Sanchez being fourth in line. But getting the opportunity as a young guy, Simpkins is an upperclassman. But calling upon the first year here. It can be tough sometimes for first-year, fourth-string quarterbacks to make the travel roster in the Ivy League. But they're actually going to bring Cole Freeman back into the game here. Freeman takes it, runs left side. Mitchell Gonzer pig piles him, but not before Freeman gets in. Touchdown Lions, and they do avoid the shutout on a 3-yard run by Cole Freeman. That's his third rushing touchdown of the season. You know, this is the grit and toughness that Freeman displays to get in here. Gonzer looked like a wrestling takedown coming from the top rope, but might have pushed him a little bit further across the plane to score that touchdown. I think they're what he had. But given the talent level in the Ivy League and how you said there's no bad teams, how impressed are you with what your successor has been able to do with this group this season?
I'm tremendously impressed. Having said that, we all know it takes a village, and it was a very good village, starting with the assistant coaches. You know, there's 60-plus years of Harvard football on their resumes, and then you know we've obviously had a really good team coming back. So I think the combination makes everybody happy and a smooth transition, and he's done a great job.
3rd and 5. Bascon gets it again, trying to ice the game with a first down, and he will. First down, Harvard. And the Crimson will be able to go into victory formation for the final minute plus of this game. You know, we've talked to a few opposing coaches, and they said, you know, I don't know Andy Orrick that well, but I'll tell you that the best move that he made was keeping Scott Larkey as defensive coordinator, Mickey Fine as offensive coordinator, and all those other coaches who have stayed on the staff. He certainly didn't want to mess with a good thing. So Harvard can kneel it down. These were about the only plays in your playbook that were under center, right? And the sweetest ones to call, right?
For sure.
Not a lot of under center game across college football. There'll be one more kneel down, and then Harvard will move to 4-1 in the Ivy League, 7-1 overall, and set up pretty fun final 2 weeks of the season.
One game at a time, but I'll go on record as saying I think from players, coaches, that what we've seen thus far, I think Harvard's the best football team in the league.
They will be in a tie with Dartmouth atop the league, which defeated Princeton last night by 9 points. Harvard facing the other first-place team entering the weekend. They win this one by 20 this afternoon. They just wouldn't give the Lions room to breathe and polish off a 26-6 victory over Columbia to stay in the driver's seat for a second consecutive Ivy championship. You know, we didn't think that this was going to be a beauty contest today. It was ugly at times. When you have two good teams, it often shapes up that way when you're playing the best defense in the league. But Harvard's offense, just too many problems for one team to seemingly solve.
Yeah, it took a while. I thought that Columbia did a great job defending the pass game, but eventually wore them down at the point of attack and be able to put a few points on the board.
So Andy Orrick continues to roll on. 7th win in 8 games as Harvard's head coach. The Columbia Lions suffered the defeat, their second loss in the last 2 weeks. They've lost to Dartmouth and Harvard, 2 very excusable losses when you consider where Columbia was predicted to finish, and the only games you've lost are to the 2 best teams in the Ivy League at this point in the season. Lions will try and regroup next week, but for Harvard, what a way to go into Penn next week and continue this type of momentum that they've built up all season. few minutes, we'll hear from some of the principals of this one, but one of the new traditions that Coach Orrick has started, he likes to have his team gather after wins in front of the Harvard marching band for the 10,000 men of Harvard.